On a quiet morning, the sun was just rising over the small, private island that had been Alex's dream for years. He had bought it with his own money, a peaceful paradise far away from the busy city. The island was small, with green trees, soft sand, and the gentle sound of waves hitting the shore. It was the kind of place where someone could forget the world for a while. Alex had imagined spending weekends there, exploring the land, maybe building a small cabin for himself. But he never imagined that his peaceful paradise would soon turn into a battleground. It all started when Karen arrived. She was part of the local HOA, the Homeowners Association, and she seemed very nice at first. Polite, smiling, and full of confidence. She said she wanted to help Alex manage the island properly. Alex, wanting to be polite, welcomed her and listened to what she had to say. He thought, maybe Karen is just someone who cares about rules and order. But there was something in her eyes, a strange mix of control and excitement, that Alex didn't notice at the time. Karen began visiting the island often. At first, she helped Alex look around, suggesting small improvements, trimming the trees, cleaning the beach, fixing broken fences. It all seemed harmless. But slowly, her suggestions turned into demands. "You should really build a cabin here," she said one morning, pointing to a small open space near the trees. Alex hesitated. "I thought I would do it myself, maybe later," he replied. Karen smiled but insisted, "No, you don't understand. This is the perfect spot. Trust me, I know what I am doing." Weeks passed, and Alex started noticing small changes on his island. He would arrive on weekends to see a new path cut through the trees or a small foundation dug into the ground. Karen was moving fast. She had apparently taken it upon herself to begin building not just one cabin, but several, 10 in total, scattered across the island. Alex was shocked. He never gave permission for any construction. He tried to reason with Karen, but she just laughed and said, "The HOA rules allow me to do this. You don't need to worry." At first, Alex tried to stay calm. He didn't want a conflict, and he thought maybe Karen really did know the rules. But something about her confidence made him uneasy. She wasn't just building cabins, she was taking over. Every corner of the island started to feel less like Alex's peaceful retreat and more like Karen's project. She brought in workers, materials, and even started planting gardens without asking him. Every time Alex asked a question, Karen would respond with a polite smile, but her words carried a hidden warning: "This is for your own good. You will thank me later." One evening, Alex sat on the shore, watching the sun disappear into the ocean. He couldn't believe what was happening. His dream island was being changed without his permission. He remembered the first day he saw Karen arrive, how friendly she seemed, and now he realized that her friendly face had hidden her true intentions. She wanted control, not cooperation. The thought made Alex tense. What if she tried to claim the island? What if all her work meant that he couldn't enjoy his own property anymore? Despite the fear, Alex knew he had to stay calm. He decided to wait and observe. Maybe Karen would stop herself. Maybe there was a simple explanation. But deep inside, he felt a growing sense of dread. Every time he stepped onto the island, it felt less like his home and more like a place where someone else was slowly taking control. Karen, on the other hand, seemed unstoppable. She moved from cabin to cabin, checking measurements, giving instructions to workers, and even arguing with a delivery man about where supplies should go. Her energy was almost frightening. She acted as if the island had always belonged to her. Alex watched from a distance, feeling both anger and confusion. How could someone be so bold? How could she ignore someone else's property like this? The tension grew when Alex noticed a new sign near the main path. It read, "HOA Karen's Island Project, all visitors must follow rules." That was the moment Alex realized the truth: Karen was trying to take ownership, at least in practice, of his island. She was building 10 cabins, creating paths, planting gardens, and claiming that it was all within her rights. Alex's heart sank. He loved this island. He had dreamed about it for years. Now, it felt like he was a guest on his own property. That night, Alex sat on the beach, staring at the stars, thinking about what he could do. He had to be careful. Karen was smart, confident, and persuasive. Confronting her too early might backfire. But doing nothing was not an option. He needed a plan. He needed to understand the rules, the law, and maybe even the HOA's real power. Most importantly, he needed to figure out how to protect what was rightfully his. As the moon reflected on the calm water, Alex made a silent promise to himself: he would not let Karen take over his island. No matter what it took, he would uncover the truth and take back control. Little did Alex know, this was only the beginning. Karen's determination and boldness were just the first wave of the storm that was about to hit his private paradise. The next weeks would bring surprises, challenges, and a battle that Alex had never imagined. But one thing was certain: the island would never be the same again. And so, the story begins, a story of control, courage, and a fight over an island that would test Alex in ways he could never have predicted. The island, which had once felt like a quiet sanctuary, was beginning to change. Trees were now marked with bright ribbons, patches of sand were cleared, and small wooden foundations appeared in places Alex had never even thought of. It was all happening so fast, and every time he returned, Karen seemed to be one step ahead. Karen's plan was not simple, it was clever and bold. She acted as if she had a vision for the island, a perfect little village of cabins that she believed Alex needed. To Karen, the island was not just land, it was her project, her creation, and she treated every tree, every rock, and every inch of sand as her canvas. One morning, Alex arrived to find Karen standing in the middle of a clearing, clipboard in hand, directing workers with sharp, precise gestures. "This cabin should face the sunrise," she said firmly. "The next one will be closer to the beach. Trust me, it will look perfect." Alex blinked, trying to process what he was seeing. 10 cabins? She hadn't even asked him for permission for one. Alex stepped forward, his voice calm but firm. "Karen, I appreciate your help, but these are my decisions to make. You can't just build on my property without asking me." Karen turned, her smile polite but her eyes sharp. "Alex, don't be so dramatic. The HOA rules allow me to advise on development. I am only making suggestions for your own good. You'll see, in the end, you will thank me." It was clear that Karen had studied the rules carefully. She knew exactly what she could say, what she could push, and what would make Alex hesitate. She was patient, strategic, and somehow convincing. Every time Alex tried to argue, she had a reason ready, a calm explanation that made him pause and wonder if he was overreacting. The first week of her project was subtle. She started small, clearing brush, measuring plots, and bringing a few workers to prepare the land. Alex watched silently from a distance, unsure of what to do. By the end of the week, 3 foundations were laid. He realized Karen's plan was not just about building cabins, it was about slowly taking control of the entire island without asking permission directly. Alex knew he needed to understand her strategy. Karen was clever. She didn't want open conflict, she wanted him to feel grateful, even impressed. She smiled at him, offered ideas that seemed helpful, and often said, "You have such a beautiful island. Don't you want it to be perfect?" Every word was calculated, designed to make Alex doubt himself. But as Karen worked, she revealed a part of herself that Alex had not seen before. When a worker made a mistake, she didn't just correct it, she scolded him harshly, as if she owned not just the project, but the people too. She paced through the island like a commander inspecting her territory, her voice firm, her hands gesturing with authority. There was no question in anyone's mind, Karen was in charge. Alex began to notice patterns in her behavior. Karen worked early in the morning, sometimes arriving before sunrise, marking new spots for cabins. She spoke confidently to the workers, making rules and assigning tasks. And when Alex questioned her, she would charm him with polite words, always twisting the conversation so it seemed he was overthinking. One afternoon, Alex walked past a half-built cabin and noticed a small stack of papers on a table. He picked them up, curious. They were blueprints, carefully drawn, precise, professional. 10 cabins, each designed for maximum space and appeal. Every detail had been planned, where the windows would go, where the deck would face, even where to plant flowers and shrubs. Alex's stomach sank. She had been planning this all along. This wasn't random. This was deliberate. Karen noticed him holding the blueprints. She smiled, a calm and confident smile, almost as if she had anticipated this moment. See, Alex? I've done everything for you. I just want your island to look amazing. Isn't that nice of me? Alex felt a mix of anger and fear. Nice? She was taking over his island. He couldn't believe how bold she had become. 10 cabins, clear paths, gardens, and fences, all carefully designed, all carefully planned, and all without his permission. Karen wasn't just a meddling neighbor anymore, she was a force, moving forward with a plan that threatened to leave him powerless. That night, as Alex sat alone on the beach, he tried to think logically. Karen was clever, yes, but maybe she had made a mistake. Maybe there was a loophole, a rule, a piece of paper that could stop her. He remembered the old files from when he bought the island, the legal documents and deeds that proved he owned every inch of it. The thought gave him a small spark of hope. Karen might think she was clever, but she hadn't seen the full story yet. As he stared at the moonlit water, Alex realized something important. Karen's plan was not just about cabins. It was about control. She wanted to dominate, to take over, to show that she could shape his island however she liked. And if he didn't act, he could lose more than just land, he could lose his peace, his freedom, and the island he had dreamed about for years. The next morning, Alex returned determined. He would observe every move, ask questions, and gather evidence. Karen might be smart, but Alex was patient. He would wait for the perfect moment to show her the truth, a truth that could shatter her carefully built illusion. But for now, Karen continued her work. She moved quickly, confidently, as if nothing could stop her. Her plan was in motion, and the island was changing before Alex's eyes. Every cleared path, every cabin foundation, and every planted tree was a part of her grand design. And Alex knew, deep down, that the storm was just beginning. Little did Karen know, the island's real owner was not planning to give up so easily. The battle for the island, the true story of power, patience, and justice, was about to unfold, and it would be more dramatic than anyone could imagine. The island, once Alex's personal paradise, was beginning to feel different. Small changes that had seemed harmless at first now appeared threatening. Every weekend he arrived, he noticed something new, a cleared patch of land, a stack of wood, a half-built cabin, and all of it done without his permission. Karen's presence was no longer a helpful visit, it was a silent takeover, and Alex could feel the tension rising in the air. The first real sign of trouble came one Saturday morning. Alex had planned a quiet day, hoping to relax and enjoy the sun. As he stepped onto the main path, he froze. A bright orange sign had appeared, planted firmly in the sand. Bold letters read, HOA Karen's Island Project, follow rules or leave. Alex's heart raced. Follow rules? Leave? This was his island. How could she post rules as if she owned the place? His mind buzzed with anger and disbelief. He walked closer to the cabins, counting them quietly. 5 foundations were now laid, each one neat, precise, and clearly the work of someone who wanted to impress, not obey. Karen was everywhere, moving like a commander, checking workers, giving orders, and making the island look like a miniature village. Alex tried to speak to her. Karen! What is this? You cannot just put up rules on my island. Karen turned slowly, her smile polite but her eyes cold. Alex, don't misunderstand. I'm just helping you manage your island. People need structure, and these rules are for everyone's safety. Alex clenched his fists. Safety? She wasn't thinking about safety, she was thinking about control. Every word she spoke felt like a challenge. She had crossed the line, and Alex knew it. The island he loved was no longer the peaceful place he had dreamed of, it was becoming Karen's kingdom, and he was the outsider. As days passed, the signs of trouble multiplied. Workers arrived early in the morning, moving materials around without informing Alex. Paths were widened, small fences erected, and trees were planted where Alex had not wanted them. He tried to stop her politely, but Karen always had a reason ready. It's better this way, she said, or the HOA requires it. Alex realized that Karen's plan was methodical. She was slowly reshaping the island, preparing to make it impossible for him to reclaim it without confrontation. The cabins were not just structures, they were symbols of control, and Karen was building her empire step by step. One afternoon, Alex discovered something that shocked him even more. A worker accidentally left a tablet on a cabin floor. Curiosity got the better of him, and he opened it. Photos of the island from every angle appeared on the screen, some taken secretly. Notes were written beside each photo, detailing where each cabin should go, what materials to use, and even how to manage Alex's reactions. Karen had planned this in advance, recording every possible step. Alex felt a chill run down his spine. She wasn't just confident, she was calculating. Every move, every word, every gesture had been carefully thought out. She was anticipating his responses, predicting his doubts, and preparing for every challenge. The island, his island, was slowly being turned into her project, and he had been blind to the strategy until now. Tension grew when Alex confronted Karen directly. "Why are you doing this? Why are you acting like you own my property?" Karen's smile never wavered. "Alex, I am doing this for you. Don't you want your island to be perfect? Don't you want a place everyone admires?" Alex realized that arguing with her logic was useless. Karen had convinced herself that she was right, and she had even convinced the workers. The island was no longer just a place of peace, it was a stage for her control. The first real conflict came when Alex tried to remove one of the signs. Karen appeared almost instantly. "Alex! What are you doing? That sign is for safety. You can't just remove it. I don't care about your safety rules. This is my property." Alex shouted. Karen's eyes narrowed slightly, but her voice remained calm. "Temper, Alex. Think carefully. You must follow the rules." It was the first real warning. Karen would not stop until she felt in control. Alex knew that the stakes had just risen. He could no longer be polite or hesitant. She was bold, cunning, and unafraid to push boundaries. That night, Alex sat by the water, staring at the dark waves and thinking about the coming weeks. Karen's actions were not random, they were part of a plan. She wanted authority, and the cabins were just the beginning. He realized he had to be smarter, faster, and more careful than ever. One wrong move could mean losing the island, or at least part of his freedom on it. Alex decided to gather evidence. He photographed every cabin, every sign, every new path. He began keeping notes of conversations, dates, and details. If this escalated, he would need proof. And deep down, he knew that proof would be the only way to stop Karen. But Karen was relentless. The next morning, she arrived with more workers, more plans, and more energy. Her voice carried across the island, directing tasks, praising herself, and ignoring Alex's presence entirely. She acted as if the island had always belonged to her. Alex took a deep breath. He realized something crucial: this was not just a property dispute. It was a test of patience, strategy, and courage. Karen had underestimated him, thinking he would remain passive. But he was no longer an observer. He was ready to fight for his island, carefully, quietly, and with every tool at his disposal. As the sun set, Alex stood on the main path, looking at the 10 half-built cabins, the orange sign, and the workers bustling around. He felt a mix of fear and determination. Karen's plan was clever, bold, and dangerous, but it was not foolproof. He had a secret weapon: the truth, the real ownership documents, and his patience. And when the time came, he would use them. Little did Karen know, Alex's quiet preparation was just beginning. The battle for the island was far from over, and the real storm was yet to arrive. After weeks of watching Karen move across the island like a general inspecting her troops, Alex realized that patience alone would not be enough. Her cabins were multiplying, her workers were organized, and her confidence had grown. Every weekend, Alex returned to see another small change, another inch of his island claimed by her plans. It wasn't just the physical work that worried him, it was her audacity. She acted as if the island already belonged to her. One quiet evening, Alex sat on the edge of the main dock, staring at the moonlit water, trying to figure out his next move. The gentle waves reflected the flickering lights of half-built cabins. Karen had left for the day, smiling smugly, as if she had won. Alex knew he couldn't confront her directly without proof. She was too clever, too smooth. If he made a move now, she might turn it around, making him look unreasonable. That night, Alex made a plan. He would dig into the legal papers, the property deeds, the records that showed who truly owned the island. He had always kept the documents in a safe place, but he had never really studied them. Now, they were the only weapon he had against Karen's growing empire. Over the next few days, Alex immersed himself in research. He visited local offices, asked questions, and read every document carefully. The process was slow, frustrating, and full of confusing terms. But Alex was determined. Every detail he found was a piece of the puzzle. He discovered the exact boundaries of the island, the legal rights of the owner, and the responsibilities or lack thereof of the HOA. Then, late one afternoon, Alex stumbled upon something extraordinary. Hidden in a stack of older documents, he found the original deed of the island. It was signed decades ago, meticulously detailed, and included a map showing every inch of land he now owned. As he read it, Alex felt a surge of relief and excitement. Karen had no legal claim. Not even a single cabin she had built could change that fact. But relief came with a twist. The deed also showed that Karen had been clever in her approach. She had exploited the fact that Alex was new to island ownership, assuming he would not know the full extent of his rights. She had created confusion, doubt, and hesitation, all while slowly building her cabins. Karen's confidence had grown from Alex's silence, and now he realized just how strategic she really was. Alex knew the discovery alone was not enough. Karen would not stop simply because he had proof. He needed to prepare a plan to confront her in a way that left no room for argument. He began organizing the information, making notes, and even sketching diagrams showing the cabins and the boundaries. Every detail mattered: the distance of cabins from the shore, the property lines, the exact location of each path she had cleared. As he worked, Alex started noticing patterns in Karen's behavior that made the research even more important. She often bragged about her expert knowledge of HOA rules, confident that she could intimidate anyone. But Alex realized something crucial: Karen's boldness was also her weakness. She had built her plan around appearances, not facts. If Alex could show her the undeniable truth, he could dismantle her carefully constructed illusion. One evening, Alex finally felt ready. He laid out the documents on the table, spread the maps, and examined the cabins' positions. It was clear, not one of Karen's cabins followed the legal boundaries of the property. Not one path, not one garden, not one fence. Everything she had done was technically on Alex's land, not hers, and the deed proved it beyond doubt. The thrill of discovery was mixed with caution. Alex knew Karen could react unpredictably. She might refuse to believe the truth, argue, or even become aggressive. He needed a strategy, a way to confront her that would leave her no room to manipulate the situation. He spent hours rehearsing conversations, thinking through possible objections, and planning every step. As the sun set over the island, Alex felt a mix of determination and anticipation. The evidence was on his side. The cabins, the cleared paths, and even Karen's smug confidence could not hide the truth. He had discovered the key to taking back control, and now it was only a matter of time before he would act. That night, as Alex looked out over the cabins glinting in the moonlight, he allowed himself a quiet smile. Karen had thought she was winning, that she was in charge. But the island had a true owner, and he now held the proof. The stage was set for a confrontation that would change everything. Yet even as he prepared, a small, nagging doubt crept into Alex's mind. Karen was clever, and she had already anticipated so much. Could she twist the situation, manipulate the workers, or find another loophole? He didn't know. But he did know one thing for certain: he would not let fear stop him. Alex's research had revealed not only the legal truth but also a lesson about patience, observation, and strategy. Karen's plan had seemed unstoppable, but her arrogance had left her exposed. And now, armed with knowledge, Alex was ready for the next step: confrontation. the island was no longer just a dream. It was a battlefield, a test of intelligence, courage, and nerve. And the real battle, Alex knew, was about to begin. Karen had built her empire on assumptions, but Alex had discovered the facts. When the time came, the truth would shine brighter than any cabin, any sign, or any path she had constructed. And so, the quiet research days turned into the calm before the storm. Alex had uncovered the secret that could undo Karen's plan. The question now was simple: when would he strike, and how would Karen react when she finally faced the undeniable reality? The morning sun cast long shadows over the island, highlighting the cabins Karen had built. 10 small structures stood in neat rows, silent witnesses to her audacity. Alex took a deep breath, holding the stack of documents tightly in his hands. Today, he would finally face Karen, and the air seemed charged, as if the island itself sensed the coming clash. Karen was already at work, clipboard in hand, directing the workers with her usual energy and confidence. She looked up as Alex approached, smiling warmly. "Ah, Alex. Just in time. The new deck is almost finished. Isn't it exciting?" Alex's jaw tightened. He forced himself to remain calm, even though his heart was pounding. "Karen, we need to talk," he said firmly, holding out the documents. Karen's smile did not falter. "Of course. But remember, everything I've done is for the island, and for you." Alex ignored her charm. He spread the deed, maps, and notes across a nearby table, pointing to the boundaries and the cabins. "This is my island," he said, voice steady. "Not 1 inch belongs to you. Every cabin, every path, every fence, it's all on my property. You have no legal right to build anything here without my permission." For a moment, Karen's eyes flickered, a subtle sign of surprise. Then she smiled again, calm and persuasive. "Alex, these papers, they don't show the full picture. The HOA rules allow development, and I've been following them. You should be grateful for my guidance." Alex's patience snapped, but he stayed controlled. "Karen, you've been manipulating this island as if it's yours. You ignored me, ignored the rules, and created a mess that isn't yours to manage. These documents prove it. You cannot argue with facts." Karen paused, her usual confidence wavering for the first time. She walked slowly around the table, pretending to study the maps. "Facts, yes, but perception is important too. Look at what I've done. 10 cabins, cleared paths, beautiful landscaping. This island looks perfect, all thanks to me." Alex shook his head. "It doesn't matter how perfect it looks. It's still my island. You overstepped, Karen. And no amount of charm or confidence can change that." The workers, who had been quietly following Karen's orders, exchanged nervous glances. They had seen Karen in command for weeks, but now her authority was being challenged legally, undeniably. Some of them began to whisper, and Karen noticed. Her expression hardened slightly, but she tried to mask it with her usual smile. "You think a piece of paper can undo weeks of work," she said sharply. "I've invested time, energy, resources. You can't just take it all away." Alex stepped closer, voice firm but controlled. "I don't need to take anything away. You never had the right to do it in the first place. All your work was unauthorized. These cabins, these paths, they were never yours to claim. The law is on my side." Karen's face flushed with a mix of anger and disbelief. For the first time, she realized Alex was serious, and that he had proof she could not refute. Her plans, built on assumptions and audacity, were crumbling. I don't understand," she stammered, trying to regain composure. "I thought I was helping. I thought I had the right." Alex shook his head gently but firmly. "You never had the right. You assumed you could control my island because I was new to ownership. That ends today." The confrontation reached its peak as Karen's composure finally cracked. She raised her voice, trying to assert authority one last time, but the evidence was undeniable. The workers now openly questioned her, some even glancing at Alex for guidance. Karen realized she was losing control, not because she lacked confidence, but because the truth was in Alex's hands. For a long moment, the island was silent except for the distant sound of waves. Alex and Karen faced each other, the weight of weeks of tension hanging between them. Karen's bold plan, her 10 cabins, her careful strategies, all of it was undone by one thing: facts. Legal proof. Truth. Finally, Karen turned away, visibly defeated. She muttered under her breath, but her voice carried no power. Alex could see that her empire of cabins was hollow without authority, without permission, without legitimacy. Alex took a deep breath and felt a wave of relief. The confrontation was over. He had stood his ground, remained patient, and used knowledge as his weapon. Karen's arrogance had met the law, and the law had won. But even as Karen left the island that day, Alex knew this was only one battle. The cabins would need to be addressed, the work undone, and the island restored. Yet, for the first time in weeks, Alex felt a sense of control returning. The peace he had sought when buying the island was slowly coming back. Standing on the shore, looking at the half-built cabins, Alex realized that confrontation was never about anger or revenge. It was about truth, patience, and courage. Karen had tested him, but he had proven that calm strategy and evidence could triumph over bold audacity. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light over the island, Alex allowed himself a small, quiet smile. The confrontation was done, the first victory won, and the island was once again truly his. Yet, deep down, Alex knew one thing: this experience had changed the island forever, and it had changed him too. He had learned that vigilance, careful observation, and knowledge were just as important as courage. Karen had been bold, clever, and relentless, but truth had been stronger. And Alex was ready for whatever came next. The island was quiet that morning, but it felt different, charged, as if it were taking a deep breath after weeks of tension. The confrontation with Karen had changed everything. The cabins she had built, the paths she had cleared, even the signs she had planted, they were symbols of a storm that had passed. Alex stood on the shore, staring at the structures that had once caused him so much frustration. Now, they were reminders of what had been taken too far, and what had been reclaimed. Karen had left the island after the confrontation, her shoulders tense, her usual confidence gone. She had realized that no charm, no strategy, and no arrogance could override the truth. Alex, holding the deeds and maps in his hands, felt a mixture of relief and determination. He knew there was still work to do. Ownership on paper was one thing, but restoring the island to its peaceful state was another. Alex walked along the paths Karen had created, noticing every cabin, every fence, every flower bed. Each structure told a story of Karen's boldness and audacity, but also of his patience and careful planning. He knew the cabins couldn't remain. They were not only unauthorized but also disrupted the natural beauty of the island. However, Alex also recognized that this was not just about demolition, it was about reclaiming his space, carefully, thoughtfully, without turning the island into a battleground again. He began planning the restoration. Some cabins were easy to remove, others required careful disassembly to avoid damaging the land. Alex hired a small team, instructing them not to rush, to work gently, and to respect the island's natural features. Every action was deliberate. Every step was a reminder that this island was not just property, it was a sanctuary. The process of undoing Karen's work took days. Alex worked alongside the team, not just overseeing, but participating. He lifted wooden planks, cleared debris, and replanted trees that had been moved or damaged. With each task, he felt a sense of calm returning, a quiet victory that went beyond legal ownership. The island was healing, and so was he. Meanwhile, Alex kept watch for any sign that Karen might return. She had been bold, but the confrontation had humbled her. Weeks passed without her showing up. It became clear that she had finally accepted, if not openly, then at least privately, that the island was no longer a place for her ambitions. During this time, Alex reflected on everything that had happened. He realized that the island had taught him more than he had expected. Karen had tested his patience, his courage, and his ability to think clearly under pressure. The cabins were not just structures, they were lessons in vigilance, persistence, and strategy. He understood now that ownership was not only about holding a deed but also about standing firm, making wise decisions, and protecting what mattered most. One afternoon, after the last cabin had been carefully removed, Alex walked along the beach, feeling the sand beneath his feet. The island was quiet again, almost as if it were sighing in relief. The wind rustled through the trees, the waves lapped gently against the shore, and the sun painted the water gold. Alex smiled. The island was his again, not just in law, but in spirit. He paused near the main clearing, imagining how it had looked before Karen's intrusion. The cabins, the paths, the signs, all gone. In their place, open space, sunlight, and peace. He felt a wave of gratitude, not only for the land itself but for the lessons learned. Karen's boldness had pushed him to act, to strategize, and to reclaim control. Without her intrusion, he might not have discovered his own strength and resilience. Alex decided to leave a small marker at the center of the island, a simple wooden sign that read, "Property of Alex, respect and care required." Not a declaration of arrogance, but a gentle reminder that the island was his, and that respect for boundaries and ownership was essential. It was a symbol of balance, order, and restored peace. By evening, the island was transformed. The cabins were gone, the natural paths restored, and the trees and plants arranged as they had originally been. Alex sat on a rock, watching the sun sink into the horizon, feeling the gentle breeze on his face. The island was quiet, beautiful, and truly his once more. He allowed himself a moment to breathe, to reflect, and to appreciate the journey he had endured. The battle with Karen had ended, but the lessons remained. Ownership required vigilance, courage, and knowledge. Boldness and arrogance could never replace truth. And sometimes, the greatest victories were quiet, not in shouting, but in careful, patient action that restored balance and order. As night fell, the island shimmered under the stars. Alex felt a deep connection with the land, a sense of harmony that had been missing during Karen's intrusion. The confrontation had passed, the cabins had been removed, and the island had returned to its original beauty. Alex knew that the island would always have memories of Karen's audacity, of the confrontation, and of the careful restoration. But now, it was a place of peace, lessons learned, and quiet victory. He stood up, looked around, and smiled, knowing that this paradise was truly his again and that he had earned it with patience, strategy, and courage. The island was quiet, more peaceful than it had been in months. The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden light over the sand and trees. Alex walked along the shore, feeling the soft breeze on his face, and let himself absorb the calm he had fought so hard to restore. For weeks, this had been more than just land, it had been a battlefield, a place where courage, patience, and strategy had been tested. Looking out at the horizon, Alex thought about Karen. She had been bold, clever, and determined. But her audacity had met something stronger: truth, persistence, and careful planning. Alex realized that the confrontation had not just been about cabins or property lines, it had been a lesson about standing firm, knowing your rights, and trusting your instincts. The cabins, the paths, and the signs were gone, but the memories of Karen's intrusion remained. Alex smiled quietly, knowing that these memories were not just reminders of conflict, but proof of his growth. He had faced someone who believed she could take control, and he had done it without losing composure. He had learned to observe carefully, think ahead, and act decisively, lessons far more valuable than the land itself. Alex paused near the center of the island, where he had placed a simple wooden marker: "Property of Alex, respect and care required." It was more than a sign, it was a symbol of boundaries, patience, and respect. The island had tested him, but it had also taught him to protect what mattered with wisdom, not just strength. As he wandered through the open spaces, imagining the island as it had been before Karen's intrusion, Alex reflected on the quiet victories that often go unnoticed. The island was more than land, it was a teacher. He had learned that boldness could be impressive, but knowledge and patience were unstoppable. Karen had built cabins, but Alex had built strategy. She had tried to claim control, but he had claimed clarity. Alex looked out at the water, waves gently lapping at the shore, and felt a deep sense of peace. The island, once threatened, was now truly his again, a place where he could breathe, think, and dream. He realized that owning something was not just about deeds or rules, it was about connection, responsibility, and care. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the sky painted in pinks and oranges, Alex reflected on the journey. He had faced challenges, doubts, and tension. He had seen someone try to take advantage of inexperience, and he had emerged stronger. The island had shown him that preparation, observation, and courage could turn the tide, even against someone bold and persistent. Alex also thought about the future. The island was peaceful now, but he knew life would always bring challenges. The lessons he had learned from Karen's intrusion would guide him. He understood that vigilance was important, but so was patience. Strength was necessary, but so was wisdom. And most importantly, he realized that victories could be quiet and steady, not loud or dramatic. He wandered to the beach, picking up a small shell, turning it over in his hand, and smiling. This island was more than a property, it was a reflection of his own growth. Karen had tested him, but the island had rewarded him with understanding, resilience, and the quiet joy of knowing he had protected what was truly his. As night fell, stars appeared one by one, sparkling like tiny guides above the calm water. Alex sat on the sand, letting the cool breeze wash over him, and felt a profound sense of completion. The cabins were gone, the land was restored, and the lessons were clear. Ownership, courage, and wisdom were intertwined, and he had discovered their balance. In that quiet moment, Alex understood something powerful. The island would always carry memories of Karen's boldness, but it would also carry the proof of his careful strategy, patience, and courage. And that, he realized, was far more valuable than any cabin, any path, or any rule. The story of the island, the confrontation, and the restoration had come to an end, but its lessons would stay with Alex forever. The island was his, not just in law, but in spirit. And as he stood, looking at the endless horizon, he felt ready for whatever came next, confident that he could face any challenge with calm, wisdom, and courage. For Alex, the island had been a teacher, a battlefield.